Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffe Kennedy, author of Epic Fantasy Romance. I'm here with my first cup of coffee. It's delicious. If you're on video, you will see that it's actually a paper cup from the coffee shop, and I have been sipping it so far. Full disclosure. Today is, say it with me, people, it is Friday. Woohoo! September 20th. So, yes, here we are then. It's kind of a cool and rainy morning here in Santa Fe. We've been getting great rain this week. Um, Hot golden afternoons. It's been incredible weather. It really just has been. And God, it's been a crazy week for me. So, regular listeners will recall that on Monday, I had vet stuff. I had all kinds of drama, and posted the podcast Tuesday. Um, my week has shaped up some, but it has not been a banner word count week. And sometimes that's just the break. Sometimes life interferes. I've gotten 4,000 words so far this week, which I am just frankly grateful to have gotten that much. Um, yeah, just things and things, right? Yesterday was very busy did not do writer coffee because I was just had other things going on, had to call in for my mom's doctor's appointment, and we're still working on her health stuff, Mom, which she knows that's a distraction. And had to take David down for a doctor appointment yesterday afternoon. But it is what it is. One of my mentees on my Discord, my mentoring Discord, which you can join, uh, is struggling. She posted some stuff. We have different channels for different days, and one of them is Friday Freak Out. So she posted the Friday Freak Out today because she's, kids back in school, and she was really hoping for things to get better with the kid being back in school, having more time to write. But now she's got all of these volunteer parent responsibilities, right? All of these things that she's got to do for that. And various other stuff for her kid that I won't get into because, of course, it's her kid and it's private. But I replied, and it's not necessarily helpful, I know, but sometimes there's only so much you can do. But it's like you get wrapped into these volunteer gigs, and I'm the original volunteer slut. We all know that I recently extracted myself from the syphilis stuff, and it's made an unbelievable difference in my bandwidth. Like, who would have guessed that? um, yeah. So here's the thing, and this is the tough love portion of Friday Freakout. And we actually have a tough love channel, and I try to be very careful on my mentoring Discord to only administer tough love uh, in that channel because we're not always ready for it. I mean, it's tough, right? It's tough for a reason. So you know who you are, mentee darling. If you are listening to this, stop if you don't want to hear the tough love because I already gave you some tough-ish responses, which were, since you already heard these, how about your co-parent? I know there's another parent in this relationship. Yeah, he has a demanding job, but does everything have to fall on you? And then the other piece is, you've gotten caught up in this volunteer responsibility for the school, something that you didn't know you were going to have. You can quit. I know you feel like you can't, but you can. That possibility is there. That option is there. without, taking away all of the reasons why, oh, you'd be letting someone down and you'd be leaving someone else in the lurch, and you couldn't possibly do that to such and so, and what would people think, and that you would feel guilty and terrible. If you take all of those things away, remember that the option is there. And certainly, I feel like I'm the poster child for this. It's right. Sometimes you have to deal with your life stuff. And writing counts as your life stuff. I just feel like we can't say this often enough that, if I just don't see it happening, right? And maybe some of you all can show me examples where this is happening. But can you imagine a man who is a writer? His wife is working full time, demanding job. They have a child, and he is not writing his books because he's volunteering at the school so much. Um, I just feel like this doesn't happen. Maybe it does. Maybe it does. But I think that women, we are so programmed, and that's how this kind of social programming works, is that we don't realize it. We don't realize that when somebody says, oh, hey, by the way, we made you in charge of this fundraising activity at the school, that we don't say, oh, no, I can't possibly do that. I have to work on this book that I'm writing, and no, I'm not published yet, which makes it harder. It's so hard when you're aspiring, because people are looking around going, well, what books? I mean, I, I meet people all the time, like I'm at my 66 published titles, and the guy at the coffee shop asks us if he's heard of me. And he turns out he reads a lot of fantasy. And so I tell him my author name. He's never heard of me, so it's sort of like, well, what are you spending your time doing? Uh, I totally get how hard it is. I totally get it. And yet, nobody else is going to care about your writing and your career as an author as much as you do. No one ever, ever will. And that is the core tough love message. My agent, she is fantastic. I love Sarah. Sarah cares about my career. She doesn't care about my career as much as I do. My editor, love my editor. She loves this book. Um, she wants me to succeed as an author. She's totally on my team. She doesn't care as much as I do. My spouse, my husband, is supportive. I probably wouldn't be where I am as a writer without him. He doesn't care as much as I do. I, I am the one who cares the most. And I am the one who has to say, no, this is important. I have to spend my time doing this. It's just, I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe this is true of all careers, or maybe it's true of all creative careers. When you have a job, when you work for someone else, we perceive it in a different way. And in some ways, volunteer jobs get looped into that because you have like responsibilities to other people. Oh, you can't let such and so down. You can't not go to work today because then you won't get paid. Uh, if you are volunteering to do stuff, and frankly, parenting counts as volunteering because you don't get paid, right? You volunteered to be a parent, and there's good reasons to volunteer because you support those projects. You want those things to succeed. I mean, I absolutely was there with SIFWA. I believe in the mission. Um, how much of your own dreams, your own wants and needs and desires are you going to sacrifice to what someone else wants, right? And that's whether it's your child, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your parents, whether it's society, whether it's your boss, whether it's this great cause that you volunteer for. How much are you willing to sacrifice to it? Everything? 90%? 50%? This is why it's tough love. These are the questions you have to ask yourself, because if you decide that you're not willing to sacrifice that much, then you have to be willing to say, I ain't going to do it anymore. And people are going to be mad at you, and people are going to be upset with you, and you're going to let people down. And that's why it's hard. That's why you have to make these choices. Um, but any of you listening, not just the person I'm talking to, because you probably did keep listening, because you're smart that way. uh, you know, you have to, I mean, I'm not into this whole thing of loving yourself, right? You know, you have to love yourself before anyone else will love you. I don't know if that's true. I think there's plenty of people who don't love themselves that are loved by other people. But you have to be willing to put yourself first. And this is something that women are not good at, because we are relentlessly trained not to do that. We are relentlessly trained to put other people first. Our children, our spouses, things related to that, these concentric circles outward of things that we are supposed to be supporting. You know, we talk about the unpaid emotional labor of women and physical labor of women. Our society is built on this, right? It's built on this idea that we are going to do these things, that we are going to give to everybody else first. And when we don't do it, we get pushback, and we are called selfish, and people tell us that we've let them down. I'll tell you one story. Way back when when I lived in Wyoming, and I was on the University of Wyoming campus, lived nearby, got my graduate degree there. But I was part of the Association for Women in Science, brand new group, local chapter of it, something I believed in, and they supported me. They paid for me to go to this great conference. I was telling a story about that conference not long ago, and we'd started an annual conference of our own. We had one that went really well that I spent all of this time organizing. I think I was president for a while. My volunteer slut ways. And the next year, somebody else was president, and they were organizing the conference, and I'd done lots to pitch in, and I was sick. I'd gotten a terrible flu that winter, and I could not kick this cough. And my doctor told me that I was on the verge of getting mono, that I was going to, like, if I didn't slow down and rest, and see, things don't change with me, right? That if I didn't take care of myself, that I was going to make myself very, very sick. And he recommended I just cut out everything that I possibly could. So here's that same thing, right? It's all these volunteer things. It's like anything that I did absolutely have to do, like the job that paid me, that I should stop doing. And so I did. And I told this gal that I couldn't. Why? I said, I'm sick and I can't do this conference. And, you're just going to have to do it on your own. And she did not, she did not accept that. She's like, well, I don't see why you can't do this one thing. And I explained, I'm sick. And I'm going to keep getting sicker. I've got to rest. And she was so angry at me, so angry. It ruined the friendship. I mean, she stopped being my friend, and she talked about me to other people later. And probably this is not convincing you to do this thing, but I want you to know that I've been there. She, was and like I saw her years later, and she said, I can't believe that you just bailed on me and all of this. And it's like, people do not like it when you put yourself first, especially if you're a woman and you've been expected to be doing this. Let me clarify, that was unpaid labor, right? That was a volunteer thing. And it wasn't even my direct responsibility. It was a responsibility I had been kind of conscripted into. So I know it's hard to defend the writing. I know it is. That's partly why I spend so much freaking time talking about it. That we have to build these fences around it, and you have to defend it vigilantly. I mean, it's crazy. I still have to. Uh, my husband, who's been with me all this time, the whole time I've been writing, who knows that he's not supposed to disturb me when I'm writing. Some days he does. It's like, what the frack? Like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I didn't know what, blah blah blah. It's like, no, it's just people will constantly make these bids for you to pay attention to them first, and they will let you, right? They will be very happy to let you run the fundraiser, and they won't give a moment's bit of guilt to the fact that they've kept you from finishing this book that you're working on. They'll, oh, you'll get it done. You'll be great. Um, you know, your children don't need to be grateful for the time that you give them because that's not the deal there, right? That's not why you're their parent. But children will never feel bad that they kept you from doing something. Your busy, overworked spouse is probably not going to feel really bad that they kept you from doing something because they have their own things. So nobody's going to care as much as you do. And if you're waiting for that to happen, ain't going to happen. Alas for that. All right, let's wind up on some happy news. I got some very exciting news yesterday. I got the interim cover for Never the Roses. So I want to read you this great email that I got from editor Diana, who is working in the interim while Ali is on parental leave. We don't have the cover yet. She says, unfortunately, I don't bring news on that end yet, but please do know the cover's not stuck and that we're actively working on it. The team, Monique, Devi, and Ellie and I, of course, have big expectations on this cover, and we're trying to get you the best of the best. Rest assured, I'll be literally running to your inbox as soon as I have something to share with you. She says, now on to the galleys topic. We've decided to do 2 rounds of galleys for this title, which is great. Yay. We usually do this with the biggest titles of the season to double our marketing efforts. The first round will be a type-only galley. Please see the final attached, and I will share screenshots of this. These will mainly be used for New York Comic Con on their side. I'll receive a few copies as well that I can use at my own discretion. And then there will be a second round of the regular galleys with the cover included. So that's super cool. And I want to, I'll give you screenshots, but this first galley, it's so pretty. They did this really cool purple font. They put Dorinda's quote, absolutely exquisite. Great new taglines: unstoppable war, unspeakable sins, impossible love. And on the back it says, a sorceress haunted by unforgivable sins, a sorcerer caught in the wars of men. Their treacherous bond might be their ruin. And then it's got the marketing campaign on there. And, like some of these things can change, but the marketing campaign says national author tour and appearances at major festivals and romance conventions. ARC mailings to booksellers and librarians and SFF and the romance genre. Special promotions tied to major conventions and festivals, ApollyCon, San Diego Comic-Con, Romantasy BookCon, and more. Pre-publication trade and consumer advertising to build buzz and highlight special packaging. Early awareness social media campaign featuring animated graphics and reels highlighting the gorgeous stenciled edges. Blockbuster consumer advertising campaign, including outlets like TikTok, Meta, and Goodreads. And there's more. Library marketing campaign, holiday advertising campaign, national print and online publicity campaign, In short, it's awesome. It's awesome. I've never gotten anything. None of my books have gotten this kind of treatment before. So it's so exciting. It's just amazing. Makes me a little verklempt. Because that's one of the things with traditional publishing, you just never know what kind of marketing and publicity investment you will get, and this book is getting it. So, yeah, that's my exciting news. I hope that you all have a brilliant weekend. Please carve out some time for yourself. Maybe pick one thing that somebody wants you to do that you are not going to do, and go do something for yourself instead. Go work on your project. You have I have the permission wand at hand. You have my permission to be selfish. Please go do that for me. In fact, it's an order. You all take care. Bye bye.